What is a content ecosystem? So, this is the overarching approach to your content creation across many different platforms, mediums, and content types. And so, I wanted to create this video simply to explain how a content ecosystem comes to be and why I think you should have one. And pretty much every big creator does have one, even if they don't always realize it. And so, I came up with this concept to help kind of orchestrate your overarching content strategy and overall history. So the content ecosystem is simply everything that you are doing in one thing. So Poly Innovator is my personal brand. Everything falls underneath that umbrella, if you will. And so everything that I do is part of that same content ecosystem. And the reason why it's an ecosystem is that they feed into each other. So when I make long form interview videos, those get chopped up into clips, and those clips feed back into the videos with traffic with the related links or clips on Spotify or something like that. And so having this ecosystem allows you to repurpose content from both of the directions too. I made a whole bunch of TikToks back in the day that were more humorous in nature, not clip based. And I was like, you know what? Let me combine these 30 of these together into one video. And so you can see how that circular effect can really take advantage of the long form content, the live, the shorts, and maybe you're doing audio or video or written, and they all come together into your cohesive content ecosystem. Now, the reason why I'm making this video is that I want you to start thinking about that. I don't care if you're really experienced or you're just starting out, you need to start thinking about your content ecosystem. Because if you're just starting out, you really have to build things up. And in the next few videos on this series, I'm going to be talking about more about like how do you get started, what are the basics, how do you do video, how do you do audio, how do you do written content, and then how do you do it all together. But this is kind of the first video in that all together kind of mindset. And so really, if you're just starting out, you have to pick one type, written, audio, or video. Do you like to write? Do you like to talk on camera? Do you like to talk without the camera? And then just start from there. I think every creator can do all three. I think anybody can do all of them. And I think that most people should do all of them. I'm very adamant about that. I think everybody should do all three content types, especially considering the mediums now with like Substack auto posting the audio from my video to a audio podcast. Like it's doing all the work for you. You might as well do an audio podcast. And then video is just something you have to get used to. Like being on camera. Like right now, I'm looking at the camera. I'm not looking at me. If I'm looking at me, I'm all the way down here. If I'm looking at you, now it feels like we're more connected. And I'm looking you in the eye. And it's more respectful, right? I'm looking at you in the eye. Like that's what we do in real life. I wish I had the Elgato prompter though. That would be kind of cool. So I can actually do both. But the idea of making content is not too big of a deal. It's not as hard as people think it is. It's a matter of practice. And what Roberto Blake and Nick Nimmin and everyone always talks about is you get to do 100 reps. And I talk about it a lot too because I just think it's such a great, brilliant idea. 100 reps. And what I try to talk about compared to what they do is like I say that you have to do 100 reps every single time. So 100 reps of video, 100 reps of podcast, 100 reps of blog posts. I don't care if you've made 1,000 videos. You don't know how to make a podcast. You don't know how to write a blog post. They're different. And while your experience and comfortability after doing 1,000 videos before doing the other ones will help, right? When I started making videos, I had already a decent amount of podcasts and blog posts under my belt. And so I felt comfortable making content and posting. I just didn't feel comfortable being on camera and enunciating my words and doing hand gestures and all that jazz. Those are things I had to learn. And even right now, as a content creator, I'm talking a lot and I do not want to edit these videos because I just want to get it out. And so I'm trying to make sure I don't do any fluff. So I'm consciously thinking about what I'm saying so I don't do any fluff. And then even right there, I'm taking those breaths. And so I kind of thought about throwing it into like Riverside or Opus and just to like cut out all the fluff of the breathing, right? Or if I were to do editing, that's what I would cut out. It's all the breathing. So it's just constant talking. But sometimes a nice pause is a good change of pace. And so this idea of skills you get from doing the content, and that's what I mean. Like the skills I get from video creation help me with the blogging. They help me with the podcasting. And so it starts creating this cohesive cycle. And once you have that one cycle, you might decide, oh, I'm done talking about knowledge management for now. I want to go work on gaming content because I like video games, right? And so you do a whole completely different niche. Well, you're not going to put that gaming content on your main channel. You might. And some people get away with it fine. Because maybe if you just do like one gaming video a week or something like that, and you do 3 videos of knowledge management, you can have them both on the same channel and it won't be too big of a deal. But it would probably do better if you did 2 separate channels, just for SEO's sake and just for your viewers' sake. And I've always was really against that as a multi-niche creator. I wanted to have it all in one place. But because Poly Innovator is my personal brand. It's me, right? I should have it all there. But Poly Innovator is more about knowledge management from Polymath. So I needed to make sure, I already have 2 niches on there anyways. I need to make sure I take care of those followers first. And then I can make a gaming channel for that. And so that whole gaming system, I started doing gaming blogs. I don't think I'm going to do a gaming podcast because there's not really a point to doing it for the way I'm making content, but maybe it will be down the line. And so I have the YouTube and the blog, and then I have the Content Polymath, which is another brand that I have. That's not part of my main like Poly Innovator stuff that I'm doing, but this is something I'm focusing on right now, and I'm doing audio, written, and video. And so every single time I have this different brand, they're all part of the same Poly Innovator brand. It's still part of who I am and what I'm doing online. So it's all part of that content ecosystem. And so that's really the idea that I wanted to share today. Like, yes, they are different sub-brands of my personal brand. Or even sometimes they could be completely different altogether, but they're still part of your content ecosystem because you're still creating the content from you. And if you are an advanced creator, maybe I wish I took some timestamps here. So 6 minutes in, I guess. If you're an advanced creator, then that makes a big difference in how you visualize and manage your multiple octopus-like arms for your content ecosystem. And so a lot of the time, even if you're an advanced creator, you may not have sub-brands. Although some people do create channels for clips and they create channels for maybe like live streams instead of just having it all in one place. I still think it's wise to have it all in one channel. I think it's better. But for some people, they wanted to have a separate place. And I might still make like podcast clip channels too, just for the sake of having multiple, like not putting all my eggs in one basket, if you will. And so if I were to do that, that's a channel that's just clips from one of my podcasts from another channel. It's not even like a real individual thing. It's an auxiliary thing, but it's still part of your content ecosystem. And something I might create content about later on is having like your own TV network. I saw this, I think, on a Callaway video or something like that, where essentially what a lot of brands are doing is that they'll do experiments on their like social media page or their YouTube page, and they'll start putting out a different sub niche, if you will. And if it does well, then they'll kind of continue it. And if it keeps doing well, they'll make a whole separate channel just for that sub niche. Despite the fact it is still part of their main brand, it's still part of their main topics that they do. They're just individualizing that one niche, the sub niche, making it a little bit more, like let's say you have a fruit channel. And then you're posting stuff about bananas, you're posting stuff about oranges, and you're posting stuff about apples. Well, the thing about apples doesn't do well, so you kind of forget about it and you move on. But the thing about bananas does really well. So you create a whole nother channel. So you have like fruit, bananas, and that's the channel, right? And so you have your brand, and then the brands like focus on that particular channel. And then they start doing this over and over and over again. And depending on how big your team is and how well you can manage it as a solopreneur, it's really interesting how you could create your own TV network by yourself and having each one of these different arms. And so yes, it's all part of that same brand. It's not even a sub-brand per se, but it's just a different channel for your content for that brand. So it'd be like if I was doing on my YouTube channel, I have the how to be a content creator, but I also have tools, and the tool stuff does really well. And I actually made the channel because of the tool stuff. But let's say the tool stuff explodes and they don't care about the content creator stuff. They just care about the tools. Well, I could make another channel kind of continuing that idea about just tools, and I just focus purely on that. And so that would be kind of an example of what I'm talking about there. So having your content ecosystem sets you forth having your own TV network, if you will. And that's the end of the episode today. I don't want to go too deep into the weeds here, but I just want you to start thinking about the multifaceted approach to content creation. Even as a solo creator, if you have different brands or different niches and stuff like that, you have an ecosystem. So start thinking about it like that.